This is the President of the United States.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans.
And this is the President of Germany. The U.S. President has the authority to control the military, enforce the law, manage and direct the government spending, and set out foreign policy, while the President of Germany has no authority to do any of that. But both are elected presidents in a federal democratic republic. So why their roles so different? The answer is that the United States uses a presidential system, while Germany uses a parliamentary system.
And he said, I address you at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union. Hitler was on the march.
It takes 6 to 9 months for an artillery shell still from order to production.
Well, Chancellor, welcome back to the Oval Office. Welcome back to the White House. Well, we've done a lot, changes.
What differentiates a presidential system and a parliamentary system are the roles of the executive and legislative branch and the relationship between those two branches. So those are what we're going to discuss in this video. Let's first begin by looking at the legislative branch. In the United States, the legislature, also known as Congress, is bicameral, consisting of the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives has 435 members representing districts based on population, while the Senate has 100 members, 2 from each state. The process of lawmaking begins with an introduction of a bill. Anyone can write a bill, but only members of Congress can introduce a bill. Some important bills are introduced at the request of the President. For example, the federal annual budget. Once introduced, a bill then goes through several stages: committee review, debates, and votes in both the House and Senate. If both chambers pass the bill goes to the President for approval. If the President signs the bill, it becomes law. However, if the President does not approve of this bill, he can veto the bill, sending it back to Congress, which Congress can override the veto with 2/3 majority in both chambers.
And vagueness. You are the architect of power, not the architect of the nation. The Left Party also weighed in. Lead candidate Gregor Gysi.
Now, taking a look at Germany, its legislature is also bicameral, consisting of the Bundestag and the Bundestag. The Bundestag, similar to the House of Representatives in the U.S., represents the population. The 598 seats in the Bundestag are distributed among 16 German states in proportion to the state's population, eligible to vote. While the Bundesrat, similar to the Senate in the United States, represents the 16 federal states and is composed of the state government. In Germany, legislation can be initiated by the Bundestag, the Bundesrat, and the federal government.
Now, the German cabinet has introduced a new draft bill of measures.
A bill typically goes through multiple readings and committee reviews in the Bundestag. Once approved, it is sent to Bundesrat, where states can approve, reject, or propose amendments. If the Bundesrat rejects a bill, a mediation committee may be convened to reach a compromise. Once both chambers agree on a bill, the bill is signed into law by the federal government.
20th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States for the meeting of the 116th Congress of the United States. The House will come to order.
Junior partner doesn't trust SPD and Green promises not to team up with the Left Party. If you manage to put that coalition together, you'll achieve.
Next, let's compare the executive branch. In the United States, the executive branch is headed by the President, who is both head of state and head of government. The President and the Vice President are elected alongside each other every 4 years by the Electoral College. The Presidential Cabinet is appointed by the President with Senate approval. The President holds significant power, including vetoing legislation, issuing executive orders, and acting as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. By being both the head of state and head of government, The U.S. president both represents their country and carries out the day-to-day task of government.
Müssen uns Sorge machen, daran darf man sich niemals gewöhnen.
Increasingly close China's ties to North Korea and also to Iran, so China poses this risk.
In Germany, the executive branch is split between the federal president and the federal chancellor. The federal president, a largely ceremonial role, is head of state representing his country and is elected by the federal convention for a 5-year term. While the federal chancellor, the head of government, is elected by the Bundestag every 4 years and is the person who is responsible for actually running the government in Germany. The cabinet of ministers are appointed by the chancellor and are typically members of the Bundestag.
The election results were poor for all three.
What they do is in suburban Maryland, and I believe they're some of the most constructive and productive discussions we've had.
So now that we generally understand the executive and legislative branch in each country, the next question to address is how independent these branches are and how they can influence one another.
Helmut Kohl replaced Helmut Schmidt as Chancellor after several weeks of political maneuvering in the Bundestag, the West German parliament.
That was Helmut Schmidt, the German Chancellor at the time, being voted out of office in favor for Helmut Kohl on the 1st of October 1982.
For the first time in West Germany's modern history, a change of leadership was brought about by parliamentary procedure rather than elections. In this instance, something called a constructive no-confidence motion put forward by the opposition ended Chancellor Schmidt's government.
In Germany, and same with most parliamentary systems, the legislature can vote a head of government out of office by a simple majority, 50% plus 1.
Under the Republic's constitution, a no-confidence motion can lead to government defeat, but only if the opposition succeeds in electing an alternative chancellor. A vote of 256 to 235 ousted Chancellor Schmidt and made Kohl the new chancellor.
In the United States, there's a less straightforward but similar mechanism for the legislature to keep the executive in check: an impeachment.
Donald Trump was found guilty of felony charges for his role in covering up a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels.
Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged. The whole thing is rigged.
That was the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump, being impeached and then trialed. He was impeached twice, actually. First time in 2019 for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, and the second time in 2021 for his role in the attack of the Capitol building on the 6th of January 2021.
Stop protecting tyrants! Stand down!
And as more protesters arrived, the mood darkened.
Vote of no confidence and impeachment is an example of the legislature's power to hold the executive in check in the most extreme cases when there is an abuse of executive power. In the United States, separation of powers is a core principle. The legislative and executive branches are distinct, with a system of check and balances to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful. Congress can check the president through oversight, approval, budgetary control, and impeachment, while the president can influence legislation through vetoes, recommendations, special Congress sessions, and executive orders. Additionally, there's still the judiciary, who can strike down laws and executive actions that are deemed unconstitutional.
Frau Präsidentin, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, meine Damen und Herren. Viele in unserem Land warten voller Spannung auf diesen Sommer, auf die Fußball-Heim-EM.
In Germany, the relationship is more cooperative due to the parliamentary system. The chancellor and their cabinet are typically drawn from the majority party or coalition in the Bundestag, ensuring alignment between the executive and legislative branches. But the system of check and balances is similar to the United States. So what have we learned? The story is of two countries taking different paths towards the same goal: democracy. Although these two countries operate by a slightly different system of government, with the US being a presidential system and Germany being a parliamentary system, they both operate by a constituted system of check and balances to make sure that no single branch or individual holds too much power that would lead to government tyranny, and to make sure that power lies within the people.